Hey Miz, I'm gonna do a VOD review for you here for your ECA Red versus AFK match on Junkertown. Um, so taking a quick look at your comp here, I would say that your primary focus is going to, I think Miski actually switches to Zarya here. So um, since you guys aren't gonna really have Grab Dragon combo or any of that kind of stuff yet, as soon as Miski gets full charged, he's going to be your damage boost priority over Flash even. But at least in the beginning, I would kind of bounce back and forth between Miski and Flash for damage boost priority. Um, yeah, other than that, I mean, I like the comp. Going double snipers, and like I said, I'm pretty positive Miski goes Zarya here, if I recall from Dragon's video.
I'll play Zarya because they're gonna run a Pharah.
Yep,
Yeah, they're
there he
definitely
is.
gonna do a pharmacy.
No, we have Widow for the Pharah, and then we have Shock for combo. We're fine.
Look at you, Miz. Level 2
position.
already.
Sorry, my dudes. Can
That's
you
pretty cool.
hashtag the meta?
I'm gonna end up having to. I think I'm gonna
Hog?
increase your
I
volume.
can't hear what you're saying, sorry.
Hog, there's
Hey Matt, can you talk again?
Yes. As I was saying, I'm a big fan of hashtag the meta.
Okay, there we go. I ended up increasing your volume because sometimes you get like it's like some loud ass people in this shit.
where to set up.
Well, that might be intentional.
Well, right behind our Reinhardt, essentially.
Maybe you just have a hard time hearing my calls, so I need to speak up.
Ow. Well.
Okay, they got Bastion. They got a Bastion Orisa.
Oh, yeah, our
And they also have a widow. Widow's at the top right.
Bastion, Orisa, just play passive.
So I like your positioning here. Don't forget you can also be over here. And actually being over on this side here gives you more opportunity to Guardian Angel away than being here does. So if they dive you here, let's say they're running dive, right? If they dive you here, being this close to all of your teammates doesn't really give you an escape route. Whereas if you were like over here, for example, you could still be doing all the same healing behind this wall here. And if they decide to dive you, you can just GA away. So I think based on the comp they are running, I think you're fine here. And you're also well positioned to just drop down with the rest of the team when they cross under the bridge.
I hit the fire once.
Okay, shields dropping. Shields dropping. Take cover.
Okay, fall back right side, play corner. Play corner, play corner. Recharge shield drop, play corner.
They have Widow with the comp there, with the group there.
This
Yeah,
way, dropping,
good.
dropping. Play the corner, play the corner. Back off, back.
I'm caught.
Alright, we need to drop earlier there, and we need to let shield read.
Yeah, so that was there really wasn't much you could have done there. I like your positioning so far though.
Down two.
Keep shield up.
Oh,
here,
Dragon.
Be able to do anything you want.
Oh shit! That was an accident.
Okay.
But I took down the Bastion.
Do we want to back out?
Widow's low,
Because
Widow's low.
Yeah, so at this point, I think you were probably waiting for a call, but as soon as you guys lost both Miski and Dragon, the fight was totally lost. Like if you guys don't have a tank, yeah. So well, Dragon's gone now, but if you guys don't have a tank, the fight's over. And honestly, at this point, I'd just get out. I wouldn't wait for somebody to make the call.
Hello? No. Aftershock, you need to frag here.
I can't do that.
Point's gone.
yeah, no, I'm dead. I was trying to get away.
Yeah, so you could have made it out there, I think, had you went with your initial instinct instead of waiting for the call. Because your gut was right there.
Totally my bad. I missed the
No,
wall.
keep playing. Good pick.
Do we want to switch to dive to jump on the Bastion?
Dive. Like, our comp is fine in this. We have Hanzo, like, Widow.
The comp's not the issue. Anyways, I was caught in a bad position there, so. Squirt's on the
Are you
right
guys
now.
setting up?
You just need to actually kill that Pharah.
Okay, shields up here. Watch it, Flash. Watch it. Shields down.
Okay, Widow's
Drop.
down
Play
two.
corner again, play corner.
Discord's on Pharah.
We can get aggressive here. We're up one.
So yeah,
He's
I like your positioning. You're doing well at keeping yourself out of sight lines right now.
Break Arista shield, storm arrow bash.
Go in. Transing in. Go in. Go in.
Go
Go in.
bash. Get on bash right now. We have trans.
Nice, great job knowing that you don't need to heal. You're just damage boosting. I would probably try to boost Miski instead. It doesn't look like he's terribly charged, but either way, his ultimate is going to be your primary win condition in the team comp you guys are playing. So helping him get his ult is really what you need to be focusing on right now.
Kill Orisa.
Risa. Diva.
Mercy coming in for the res.
So
I'm on her.
I am not a huge fan of ever using the Mercy pistol, especially in these kind of situations, just because, as far as I'm concerned, you damage boosting somebody will probably do more to kill an enemy than your pistol will, especially in that kind of situation. Now granted, if you're like Valking or something and you can take out like an enemy widow or something like that, pistol away, sure. But I don't know. I'm more in the camp of using your damage boost on a DPS rather than actually being the one to kill it yourself.
Stagger diva.
Be careful with the sniper. She's at top right. I mean top left.
Play corner. Corner's ours now. They're gonna swap up bash and they can't get back on card here.
I've got Shatter.
Yeah, bash and swap to Zen.
So right now, because you know they have a widow, where you're at right now is pretty dangerous. If their widow does grapple up here, let's say, and grab the ceiling here, she's gonna have a real quick, easy. I mean, not easy, but the higher you get, a widow could grapple up there and just get a boom headshot on you. So you get no real benefit of being here in the middle of the road versus being up here against this wall here. So especially when there's a widow, you have to be very, very careful about your positioning. So get up against that wall. It's not working. There you go.
Or play passive, one or the other.
They're running dive.
Yeah, I see the monkey.
Yeah, no, I'm saying they're not running dive. They only have dive.
Oh no, okay.
I do like that you're looking around a lot though. Trying to scope out what the enemy team's doing.
Can you get out?
Shock, drop.
Diva's discorded. Half up there. She just.
This is good. This is all good. Nice. Great job.
Oh. Get that Winston. Get him. Where'd he go?
I love that you're looking around so much. This is good. You're kind of tunneling right now on rezzing the widow though.
Damn it, I couldn't get to you on time.
Yeah, you were kind of tunneling there. I wouldn't have worried about that. He died in a position that you couldn't easily get to, and it's not worth you dedicating all of your focus to trying to res him at that point. Especially since you guys know you just won that fight. And honestly, I don't even know that I would have rezzed there. Like, it would have been more valuable for you to save the res for the next fight, because your widow, I think Flash will make it back before their entire team is really able to start pushing in. And even if he makes it back like a second or two late, the value of a widow, right, is that, especially if they don't see her, is that the enemy team's knowing that she's there and they're going to be kind of looking around for her. And so they'll be a little more hesitant. So moral of that story, try to stick with your main tank a little bit more. Like if you can't very easily make a res, don't tunnel and go after it and have that be your only focus for 3 to 4 or 5 seconds at the exclusion of everything else.
Yep.
Almost back.
Just grapple you away. They look like they're going to the top right, so they're probably going to be on that bridge to drop down.
That's a great call, and this is actually something I mentioned to Dragon, that he should just come up here, because it's easier for him to drop from high ground than to get up to high ground. So, yeah, that's a really good call, Miz. I would almost say the same to you. Doesn't hurt for you to actually be up here if Dragon is up there too. Just because, I mean, even though you have much more mobility to fly up and down, doesn't hurt to just be up there and damage boosting the Hanzo. You know, I mean, if he can get some pretty heavy duty picks or anything like that, that's great. Plus, because he just used dragons, you want to help him get that back. So at this point too, now that you have Valk, I would say you don't open your character screen very often, so I don't really know what other ultimates your team has at the moment, but my guess is that you guys are probably relatively close to trance again, maybe. So what I would say is just start developing a plan. Like as soon as you get Valk, start developing a plan for how you'd like to use it. And in the comp that you're running here, because you do have such a valuable defensive ult in trance, I would recommend using it to aggressively engage in a fight against the enemy team on defense, or to use it to like peel for a tank that you have or something that's out of position or super low or something like that. But again, just make sure that you're not like using Valk defensively isn't your first inclination. And again, part of that's going to come from just communicating that you have it, and communicating that you have it on a regular basis, because then your shot caller, in this instance Miski, can give you like a good idea of when he wants you to use it and how.
Oh, they're main.
I hear one flanking.
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah, there's somebody flanking.
One flanking, everyone else main.
So again, where you are right now versus where you could be just right here, or tied up against this wall, leaves you incredibly vulnerable to a Widow if she's up here, or even if she gets up here. So what they're trying to do, and this is what I mentioned to Dragon, is they're going to try to set up a crossfire here. So they're going to post their Widow up here, and they might have a Hanzo or a Pharah, but either way, it doesn't matter. And they're going to send their Hanzo or their Pharah up here, so that, like you can see here, Dragon is then forced to either block this way or that way, right? So in that instance, his shield is basically negated. So you need to make sure that you're in a position that you're not actually trying to use his shield as a crutch, basically for poor positioning. So get over here, or stay up here with Aftershock and utilize the high ground to be out of their line of sight, or also to just quickly GA away to your team that's lower.
Aftershock drop down.
Oh, shit. I'm dead behind. Can I get rest?
Reservoir,
I got you.
Flash gotta
Flash
kill.
needs support. Flash needs support.
Coming hard.
I got Widow.
Winston.
Oh, Winston's off.
I'm on
Okay.
Winston.
Pop Mac. Mac.
Yep, I'm
I think that was great. You recognized that the enemy Mercy had Valked, and your team was starting to get a little bit behind there. So I really liked watching that. I think that was a good use of your Valk for sure.
He's gone.
So that's the other thing you can do. I don't know if you know this. So it's the same thing like with a Zenyatta ultimate, right? So the team that Valks first versus the team that Valks second. So they get an advantage for the first 1 to 2 seconds, right, of the encounter before you have time to pop yours, right? So let's say that this is like enemy you. Okay, so they get an advantage for the first 1 to 2 seconds, right? So in order to negate their advantage, you Valk too. So then for the next 6 to 7 seconds, you don't have an advantage, but you don't have a disadvantage. And then at the end of that, then you have a guaranteed advantage for another 1 to 2 seconds that they can't do anything about. So Valking second, trancing second, shattering second, being the team to kind of follow up on that stuff when you're playing a more passive playstyle is great. If you watch Overwatch League, a lot of times you'll see Jonak especially pop Transcendence to like counter trance the enemy team. So granted that is an instance where he doesn't need to save his trance for a defensive ult, but instead he's using it pretty aggressively to negate the enemy team's ultimate, and to also give his team a slight advantage for the end of his ultimate. So that's kind of what you're doing here. I hope it's intentional, but if it wasn't,
She's
you
gone, she's
still
gone.
did
She's
well based on what
Alright,
was
yeah,
happening in the game.
get a last hit on her.
I have no fucking energy. Holy shit. Boss, play near me. That way when you get far rocket, I can just bubble and get energy.
Okay.
Alright, for people that need to be
I'm gonna go back here. I just want to see. I want to watch that again.
Right, so they're probably gonna be on that bridge to drop down.
Oh, they're main. They're main.
I hear one flanking.
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah, there's
I will.
somebody
One
flanking.
main. One flanking, everyone else main.
Yeah. So
After
the
shot goes
reason
down.
Mad dies here is just because he's in bad positioning. Had he actually been up against the wall that I kept showing to you, or back left behind the car, that kind of thing, he would have been better off. But where he's at was just
I'm dead behind.
Not
Can I
good.
get rest?
Reservoir,
I got you.
Yeah.
Flash needs support.
So their Mercy's valking here. They're not really getting any value out of it.
Oh, where's this on?
But-
Okay.
But I do like that.
Mech.
Yep, this is good. This is good. So you force out the
Yep,
Diva
I'm on
mech.
the mech. In front.
Mad's able to
She's gone,
pretty
she's
easily
gone.
take out the monkey. Flash cleans up. So yeah, this is good.
I have no fucking energy. Holy shit.
You didn't necessarily have to
Play near
use
me,
it,
that way when, you get far rocket,
but
I can
it
just bubble.
guaranteed the fight win there. So
Alright,
that's good.
for people that need to be
I've grabbed
topped
here.
off.
We have grab dragon. Okay,
Yep.
here. I'm gonna play here.
I'll shadow the diva when they come in, and then you can send out your
Shadow
grab.
diva.
without
When's
fear.
this coming in?
We have 5 volts.
Top diva mech and frag.
Alting, go, go, go!
Big.
Diva.
She's popped.
Big. Damage responso.
Damage boost me.
Oh, there's a tracer behind.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that was just kind of poor planning on your team's part there. If you guys are going to do a grab dragon combo, it has to be more than just like, on the spot kind of thing generally. So while I wouldn't say that was necessarily your fault, I would say that I think you over prioritized pushing in with the tanks there and kind of allowed the back line there to dwindle. And again, I mean, that just comes from constantly pulling up your character tab window to see what the team's ults are looking like. That way your damage boost priority can kind of go back and forth between your 2 DPS and your off tank.
She used recall.
Mercy got her
Fair-
res. Mercy got her res.
Farrah just ulted on me.
I'm discorded. I need healing bad.
Both healers are down. Both healers are
Yeah,
down.
die.
Yeah, so that was more of just a poor team planning fight than anything else
That's
there.
unfortunate,
But
that's alright.
I did damage boost him and stuff like that, but he was also around the corner while I was trying to get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me move over here.
We all got towards the back here. So we can fight this.
Yeah, main point.
so again, no reason to just be right out here in the open. Because again, I mean, if they start to push in, they get like a crazy widow grapple up here or something like that, you're gonna die immediately. So, no reason to not be tight up against that wall.
This fight should be
Can't
hard.
figure out how to push the play button.
I've
I'm
got
so good at
60%
this.
on it, so. Oh, fuck.
How are we dying to that?
I got hit by the Zen charge and
Yeah, like your whole team right now is
Okay,
using
shield's going down, shield's
Dragon's
down,
Shield to
Tracer's
compensate
right
for.
behind us. Tracer is flanking.
Tracer,
So yeah, your whole team's using Dragon's Shield to compensate for bad positioning. Like pretty much everybody's in a not good position here. Everybody should be a lot tighter up against a wall or using environmental cover. But right now everybody's pretty much just chilling in the wide open and yeah.
Bad. I need a topic bad.
I do too. Ha, ha.
we might have to switch because the.
He was almost there.
Yeah, so like you're doing all you can do right now. Your team is just really in such bad positioning that they just keep taking damage. So it's not your fault anybody's dying here. They're just all in really, really bad positioning.
He was almost out of mech.
Take cover, take cover.
I'm dead to that.
Yeah, no.
So one of the things that I tell Sifu pretty often as well is that it seems like you guys are both very immobile for Mercies. What I mean by that is that like you guys don't. One of your best abilities is Guardian Angel, right? And you can double jump with it very, very often. and I would like to see you do it more. So let's say that this is your GA target, right? God, I'm such an artist. This is beautiful. All right, so you're over here. If you GA to them and you don't hold spacebar, you stop here, right? But if you GA to them and in mid-flight you hold spacebar, you actually go flying way past them, and you go flying way faster than you did even going to them, right? So you can get like an insane amount of distance there. So if you, so in this instance here, so Misky was like here and you were back here, right? So if you GA'd to him and held spacebar, you could have actually flown all the way into this room probably. Granted, you probably would have gotten just wiped from the Winston because the rest of your team is all dead. But yeah, just do the double jump more. I don't know if you know how to do it or not, but if you don't, like I said, just go into a custom game or even just go into the training range. Pick a bot, pick a target you wanna GA to, and then just work on holding spacebar and just go flying way past them. There are just so many good utilities of it. And it's really one of Mercy's strengths is just her insane mobility. I'll keep watching, but I'd definitely like to see you be a lot more mobile.
I'm dead to that too.
Just die on cart, Dragon. Die on cart.
Yep.
What do you want me to switch? What do you want me to switch to?
We need a. I don't think the sniper's gonna work.
Okay, so all right, so you guys are still running that. Okay, yeah, I mean this is still fine. I don't know that I'd make any major switches here. If anything, maybe swap Misky off of the Zarya and swap him onto like a Roadhog, or even a Diva here, just to kind of give you more peel on the backline. Also give you a way to fly up to him, so like if he's on high ground or something like that, you can fly out. And also to eat Pharaoh rockets, all that kind of stuff. So I think if you guys do make any switches here, I'd swap Misky onto a Diva. Okay, yeah, Hog's fine. Hog's fine. Just to try to take out.
What you could have told me?
Aftershock Genji.
Yeah, I just threw it just to see.
Winston's all the way in, no shooting.
Yeah.
Winston's all the way in, no
That's
shooting.
fine. I mean, that's just not worth your time. So I would Valk here. So your team is about to get super behind in healing done, and on top of that, you get like it's pretty much do or die here, right? So I would have Valked, like planned to have Valked straight out the door there. Okay, nice. You do Valk. It was a little late. It's a little late, and at this point, I wouldn't be shooting people. I would just be healing exclusively. Because you weren't healing there, because you were shooting, Matt actually ended up having to pop trance, which not ideal. You guys don't want to use both of that. You would have rather have been able to save that for much later. And again, even if you are just damage boosting Orion while he's swinging on targets that he's gotten down with his Earth Shatter, you're still better off than shooting them. I really don't ever like to see Mercy pistol use outside of like you going for a Widow kill or something like that.
Yep.
Got him.
Get that Mercy. Mercy Discord.
I'm leaving cart to go for Zen.
I'm on her. She's one. Thank you.
There we go.
Alright, I'll have Deadeye. I'm grabbing high ground.
Okay.
Staggered Zen.
Sorry, was that a bad chatter on my part?
Not at all.
No.
No, you're gonna get it back.
As long as you get, yeah.
Force out Winston ult, and like I said,
We're gonna have Deadeye for this fight, so we need to make sure Flash is pocketed. Flash, don't go on a crazy flank.
okay, I'm looking for.
Yeah, like I need you to be able to
Give
be
him
in
a
a place.
damage. Give
Okay.
him a damage boost when he gets there.
Yeah, I just need to make sure I can see him.
Chilling up above.
He's up on the upper left.
So again,
Pharaoh's up,
Miz,
Pharaoh.
watch your positioning here. So like because you're just like again in the wide open, if they've got a Widow that ends up getting up here somehow, she'll just pick you off really quickly. If they had somebody who was able to get on a flank to get up here, any of that kind of stuff, like you're just gonna die really quickly. So where you are right here, better positions you could be in would be like here, or even like in up that way, right? or even just like right on the payload here where Dragon is. And in Dragon's video, I kind of got onto him saying that I don't really like where he's holding here, because like you guys don't need to hold the payload right now. I would prefer that you guys be all the way up there. But either way, where you're at right now, if any flanker or anything comes out of the woodwork, like you're gonna die immediately, you know. So get here. This is dangerous. I wouldn't hang out over here. But even if you're up against this wall here, you could still fly to Dragon. You could still fly up here to Flash. You could still fly to Aftershock or whoever is up here if you need to. So hang out less in the wide open.
Already.
Our
So
other option is for Misky to get whole hog.
She's
and,
also with Mercy. She's also with Mercy.
Bottom right,
They've
bottom right,
got,
bottom right, bottom
they
right.
have Reinhardt now.
So who's your damage
Diva's
boost?
on us. Diva's on us.
I'm stuck. Yeah, no.
So right now, who's your damage boost priority? Like in this comp that you're running. So now that you've lost your Zarya, and you've swapped off of the Hanzo, right? Your damage boost priority is primarily going to be Misky when he is either trying to break a shield or trying to hook somebody. And outside of that, I'd actually be damage boosting your Zenyatta. You know, it'd be great if you could damage boost your McCree, but he's kind of in a weird place. So, yeah. Wouldn't worry too much about that. Here, what ends up happening is you guys end up getting split by a flanker. So just remember that, and again, this comes down to positioning, but remember that a flanker's goal is to turn a 6v6, right, into an advantage for their team, right? So the way that they do that is by flanking. So the flanker goes off, so now it's 5v6, right? And by the time he gets to the back line, the flanker, so 1 plus 5. Okay, so the flanker, their goal is to pull off more people than they represent in the fight. So if the flanker pulls off 2, right? So now it's a 4v5 on the front lines. So if you see here, the D.Va comes in, right? And the D.Va distracts both you and Mad. And then who actually died there? Your main tank. So keep in mind that when you guys are getting flanked, first and foremost, and again, this is what I was saying before, is that your positioning between fights needs improvement. So had you actually been up here, the D.Va wouldn't have seen you guys initially, and even if she had, she would have been forced to dive you there, which is right next to your main tank and off tanks, right? So that would have been extremely dangerous. But all the way back here and in the wide open, you guys give her like a really, really easy target, and she's able to split your team off and kill off and get your main tank killed by the remainder of the team.
I got hit with a tracer bomb.
Get help to miss. Get help to miss.
Nah, I'm done. I have
Yeah,
both
no
people.
healers, careful.
Pocket.
So, and again, this is where the GA double jump is going to come in handy. So I'm going to replay it, and I'm going to pause it and show you where you could have done that.
Now?
So right here, like this positioning is just not good for both you and Mad. You guys are just about to get like obliterated here, because all it takes is a D.Va and then the Pharah up here to turn her attention, and you guys are just going to get obliterated. So they're splitting you guys off from the rest of the team here to either kill you or to have the rest of their team.
I'm stuck. Yeah, no. I got hit with a tracer bomb.
Okay, yeah. So his death wasn't necessarily your fault there, but as you can see, I mean, they've split you guys so much that the rest of the team on the front line is in really grave danger here, and you guys are as well, but that's just because you were positioned so far back.
Get help to miss. Get help to miss.
So you could have GA'd Alright, so that's why I rewinded. Alright, so
Diva's on us. Diva's on us.
I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Yeah, no. Bomb got. I got hit with a tracer bomb.
alright, so right here, as soon as you start getting hit pretty hard, you could have GA'd to Miski here, and you fly up, and instead of just stopping there, if you held spacebar, you could have actually flown all the way up here into this room here, or even behind the cart or any of that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that that would have made you safer, but it would have gotten the tracer off your back for sure.
Get help to Miz. Get help to Miz.
No, I'm done. I have
Yeah,
both
no
people.
healers, careful.
Pocket me.
Yeah, so I think you may have actually kind of did that, but then after the fact, instead of continuing to push forward and get yourself to safety, you actually ended up going back towards the damage coming into you. So, yeah, just make sure you really have a plan. Make sure you have a plan with where you want yourself to be positioned, and just be aware of places on the map that you can use for environmental cover more often there.
Fuck, just got back in my...
Charging to point.
I am literally 5 health.
Blocking that. Blocking it.
Keep shielding it. Thank you.
Get her.
If she flies away, I'm on it.
No,
Got
she
him
got
back,
away.
got him back.
Farrah's coming
Coming
back.
in over
Farrah's
right.
coming back.
Yep,
Come
they're
back
coming in.
aftershock.
I'm
I
pulling
got
back
you.
a little further.
I got her.
Okay, watch it.
Ooh,
Watch it.
ooh. Be careful of the Reinhardt. Be
Yeah,
careful of the
get-
Reinhardt.
So, make sure that your comms are useful. You know, I get in the heat of the moment, like you kind of have reactions to certain things, but like, just saying like ooh, or like, you know, calling aftershock back is fine, but like, I don't know, just try to watch your call outs too. Just make sure you're not clouding comms with things that aren't necessarily useful.
Get
Reinhardt,
back to
punish the
point, get back
Reinhardt.
to point.
Farrah's upper left still?
Yep.
Oh shit, I might die here.
That tracer's flanked.
Alright, so now that you have Valk again, you guys probably don't have Trance yet. You might, but I don't think you do. I would plan to use this either one as soon as you start to see your team gently dipping behind in the healing economy, or I would use it to enable Aftershock's Genji Blade, which I would imagine he's also pretty close to. So if you could Valk Blade, you can pretty much just follow him around and keep him alive the entire time. I wouldn't focus too much on damage boosting him, just because I don't think that causes a one-shot. So either way, he's going to have to hit him twice, so just keeping the healing up on him while he's going would probably be my
Somebody's
plan.
got rest.
So again, your positioning is not good here. You would be so much better off here, or even like back in that room. But just because you're hanging out here in the middle, like you're giving your location away so easily to anybody who wants it, and especially if you're going to be running up against dive DPS, you're just asking for it.
I have ult here, But we want to do like...
Okay, so I would Valk here right now because they just did it. So let's see what you do though. Okay, great.
Watch that shot. Get him.
So Mad should not have tranced there. But again, that's just going to come down to communication between you guys and you looking at your alt screen more often.
Get the Rhine. He can die.
I'm still card.
If you get ult, that'll be.
Run.
Yeah, so you guys are just all split up all over the place here. And I remember I got onto Dragon. His death actually over here was his fault. He should have very easily been able to kill their Reinhardt.
Rhine's behind us.
I got ult.
Got her.
Oh god, I just got killed by a Zenyatta.
You're 3v1 right now, Mitsuki. Just stall as long as you can. Okay, we can get back up.
Yeah, not much you could have done there.
Make sure we touch.
They have four. They got the rest.
Touch.
I'm on it.
Wait, why did no one go tracer?
Going right now.
Farrah's one.
Discord's on Diva. Ah, shit. I should focus the Mercy.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to touch the point.
I thought I
Yeah,
did.
sorry.
That's fine. It's OT. winnable.
Okay.
All right, guys. That was good.
Alright, I'm gonna fast forward here a little bit.
Read the plan.
They've got a Reinhardt up
Okay.
top.
Read the.
I don't know why it's taking so long to buffer. Well, this is fun. So, good things I saw from the beginning of that match. It was great to watch you counter Valk very often. I think you used it appropriately. The only things I would suggest from that match, the two main things. So, one, I would say watch. Oh, I can't spell. Watch positioning between fights. Because you don't really get to choose, like on defense, you don't really get to choose when the fight happens, but you do get to choose where the fight happens. So you don't know when they're going to jump you guys. You don't know when they're going to start attacking. So make sure that you're in a good position before that happens. Choose where they fight you. So that means not hanging out in the open nearly as much as you do between fights. Two, I would like to see you use GA more with the space bar. That way you are more mobile than you usually are. And then three, I would say look at Alt screen more. So the reason behind that is to be aware of damage boost priorities. So who's close to their ults, who has them, that sort of thing. And also, look at your alt screen more for damage boost priority and coordinating support ults. So a lot of times they're both you and Mad popped ults there, and you guys would have been much better off had you been able to save those. So coordinating support ults. So those are the main things I'd like to see. And this is just kind of personal preference for me, but I would say use pistol less. So you really need to prioritize healing and damage boosting, because you damage boosting a Hanzo is going to do so much more damage to a target than you just firing into it with your pistol. Like, even if the fight's totally won, it's better for you to enable them. And I actually think you get more ult charge out of it too, because not only are you giving them ult charge by doing more damage, but you're also getting credit for it. So these are the four major things I'd like to see you work on from your first point there. I don't know, defense. Yeah. So go ahead and clear that out now. Let's go.
Amass vast amounts of treasure.
So here your damage boost priority is going to be Widow.
Fire disguises.
And then, oh no, why is it failing to buffer? No. So yeah, your priority for damage boost here is going to be your Widow, and then Misky once he gets full charged. I don't know why it's being so weird with the buffering. Apparently my internet's dying or something.
On disguises.
There we go.
On disguises. Take trolley to gate, sneak inside, light fuse, and profit.
Okay, they got a Pharah. Watch it. Play blind shield.
And I got energy.
They're running farmer.
They're firing, Mitsuki, they're firing rockets at me.
Yeah, I got
Okay,
energy.
the Widowmaker's play.
So you're using Dragon's Shield here for bad positioning. So just keep in mind, like he's not going to be able to hold it up all the time. And this is one of the things I actually tell him, like he holds it up a little too much sometimes and blocks more than he needs to be blocking. So you need to be ready for that shield to just not be a constant source of protection for you. So, 3 on cart, sure, great, got it. But try to not be so far away from the cart that you can't use it as protection either.
Playing behind
Bears
the
on me
line.
on the side.
First
Sorry, I
range,
just popped
first range.
Fire's down.
I do like
Yeah.
that you look around a lot. That's good. Especially behind you.
Ooh, scheiße.
It's really, really good.
I am
I like
lagging
that a lot.
behind me. Oh,
Discord's out on their Zarya.
Not your fault. He died there.
Killed Zen.
The fire's down.
Ryan's
Or
low,
Mercy's
Ryan's
down.
low, Ryan's
Jumping
low,
down.
Ryan's low,
Yeah,
Ryan's low,
man.
Ryan's low.
Good call not trying to res him.
Pocket me.
Great job.
Play behind the payload as best you can.
This is all good. So there's a widow now. So you like, nope. And I think that's where the like comes out. But yeah, you can't be in that sight line at all. So I hope you move, and I'm pretty sure you will, since I just heard you like squeal.
I just saw a widow shot.
Yep, nice. All right.
Ski pocket, I'm still eating energy.
I'm gonna
I'm
go.
on part right now.
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit on top off. Mercy, please.
Great. This is great.
Where's that
This is
widow?
great.
I just saw her
I-
shot.
I wish I knew where you
There are
were
a couple
at.
coming through window as well.
Oh, there you are.
Here they come.
Yep.
Zarya's, Farrah's discorded, Farrah's low.
I got Zen. I'm
Mercy's
Fight
down.
one,
really low
fight
though.
one, fight one,
I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
Reinhardt can die. He's low.
Ooh, I'm getting
Reinhardt
shot
get
at.
He's dead.
Yep. On Zarya dead.
Okay, you get the widow?
Alright, save Dragon Blade. Oh, I have more charge, never mind. Okay.
All right. So right here, I'd be looking at your ult screen, planning out the next fight.
Okay, I've got Earth Shatter.
Okay, great. All right. So let's see. So Miski is super close to a grav. All right, great. So you guys are pretty much going into this next fight with all of your ultimates. So I would say the plan would be to get a shatter off and clean it up with Valk if necessary. You could also wait and save this to pair with Aftershock's Blade, but most likely these two are going to pair their ults together. Plus Mad can also trance blade him, so I would plan to pair these two up for this next fight. So pop sights 1, get a fat shatter 2, if need be for cleanup, Valk 3.
So I
no.
just want 'em.
A little bit of extra.
Pretty much.
Get shot of this fight.
Yeah, I got
Hey,
shot.
listen, okay, focus Ryan Shield, then Shatter. Focus Ryan Shield, then Shatter. That's our win, Ken.
Okay.
They have walls,
They
they have
are
walls
sights.
until...
We both have sights.
Walls until
Both
440,
sides.
440.
Watch Fire Strike.
Farrah's
Throwing
coming
fire
over.
strike.
Break shield, break shield, break
Farrah's
shield,
coming
break
over the
shield.
top.
Farrah's
Shield, shield,
firing
shield.
at me.
Shield, shield,
Ferris.
shield.
She's
Oh.
low. She's half.
Back.
She's half.
Hammering those two. Yep, got him.
Okay, follow.
I block Shattered.
Alright, go.
Nice.
Zarya's 1.
3 grabs in the back, 3 grabs in the back. Two,
Yep.
whatever. Swing.
Oh no, they killed me. Come on, guys.
Boost me. Damage boost me.
They tranced it.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of that just comes down to poor fight planning because you guys end up literally blowing out every single ult there, and I don't think you guys actually won this fight. So had you gone in with a little bit better plan and really executed that, I think you guys would have been much better off. And again, like, you weren't really able to follow through with that plan just because Mad and Aftershock, I think, were behind, and they were in such poor positioning that they just got blown up by that Pharah. Like, they weren't on the same page as everybody else. So yeah, they pulled you away from paying attention to the front lines, and then yeah, because literally everybody's focus should have been, since the call was made, to go with the shatter. Everybody's focus should have been there, but what ended up happening is I think Mad and Aftershock got pulled back by the Pharah, and they were so focused on killing her, or not taking damage for her, or the damage they were taking by her, that they stopped supporting here. And then your attention got drawn back to them since one had died and the other one was critical. And then by the time you healed them back up, because they had fallen back too much and because they had kind of lost track of where they were going, or what they wanted to do with this fight. Dragon's Shatter doesn't really get any follow-up, and on top of that, he dies. So, you know, lots of mistakes going on here. I don't really think that there was anything better you could have done there.
You can
Not
get
really your
through that
fault,
with the
but
You get that
yeah,
out.
this is over. This fight is like more than over.
It's lost.
So,
We gotta regroup.
like,
It's lost.
yeah, you
Oh yeah, I'm dead.
you
I'm dead.
could have,
I'm dead.
yeah, you
I'm
could have
dead.
gotten out of there had you committed to that. Had you committed to getting out sooner, you definitely could have gotten out of there.
Dude, stop running away.
Oh.
So I get what he's saying there, but you didn't die there because you were running away. You died there because you didn't fully commit one way or the other.
Wait, me?
Flash.
Flash.
Yep. Okay, good.
Yeah, like you. I'm gonna rewind that real quick. So you didn't die because you tried to get out. You died because you didn't commit one way or the other.
You can get through that with the damage.
You get that.
Right. So here, like, everybody's dead. This fight's over here. Right.
Flash.
So had you committed to bailing here, you could have lived. But because what ends up happening is you GA and you could have just left, but instead you stuck around to try to heal Flash up and you died in the process. Oh no! I just screwed that up real bad.
In a situation like this, better just die than potentially stagger by trying to run away.
Alright, I'm with you, Misky.
Go bottom left, bottom left, bottom left. They're playing corner.
I heard they did up.
They didn't. They used Trans and they used Earth Shatter.
They use trans, they use shatter, they're gonna have grab here. They have grab.
So again, watch your positioning on, like, between fights. Like you should be tied up against a wall right now and not in the wide open.
Have to play
I'm
back.
back.
They have sights.
Yeah.
Dragon run out with you. Hold up.
Okay, I'm backing up.
Alright,
Get
focus
ready
shield,
for
focus
Widow
shield.
to find a flank here.
That far
I
is
think
gone.
Widow's
He's coming in.
Oh.
Yep, nothing you could do there.
Just die, just die.
Okay. I
You
have
can't get out, you
six.
can't get out, you're discorded, just die.
Sorry.
I got out.
What the
I'm thinking I might want to switch off Genji. I'm
Okay, Farah coming for
Yeah,
Dragon.
you stop off Genji, I'm going hog.
I'll go.
Watch the. Go,
That was
good
great.
kill.
Good, go,
Great
go.
job, great job.
Go, go.
What?
Time.
No, I didn't want to go with this character.
So they should have tried a little harder there to deny that res,
A
but
couple of them still top. Yeah,
Yeah,
a couple of them are
three
still
of them.
top right.
he needs to get to you. He needs to get to you. Don't tunnel him. You're tunneling him.
Go in.
Yep.
Where is Discord?
So damage boost here. Damage boost, damage boost,
Widow
damage
keeps
boost,
going
damage
after me.
boost.
Ryan's down.
I'm on Zarya.
Mercy,
Mercy. There you go.
Far
Somebody-
behind us.
I'm dead.
Farah, Discord.
Healer
I'm
down.
on Widow.
Get the Farah.
Good kill.
There's a widow right
The
behind you
widow's
guys.
behind
Widow's
us,
right
behind
behind.
us.
I'm working on it.
Widow and Zen. Take out Zen first, because then he has no Discord.
Stagger the Widow if you can.
No, don't stagger, we need to win fight. Coming back in. This guy's gonna have shatter,
Okay. Knock that Ryan down and I'm restful. Kind of wasted his shatter. Pocket.
He pinned me.
Dragon.
I got him.
Awesome.
Mercy.
I got long
Make sure that
spawn.
the Mercy doesn't.
Watch your positioning here. You're in the
Farrah's
wide
right
open
behind
again.
us.
That far is one. Far is one. Behind you guys.
I'm on.
Three
Dead.
cards.
Thank you.
Alright, I hold.
I don't know that I would have bothered resing there, just because he would have gotten good spawn right behind you by the time that he respawned. But that's alright. That's just nitpicky.
I have my ult.
Something to keep in mind though. Don't just res just for the sake of resing.
Peek me. Fucking peek me. I dare you. Hook Ryan.
Aftershock. Good.
Misky needs some help. No, not yet.
I'm holding him back for
Now
stall.
he does.
So again, watch your positioning. So you could have healed Misky, and instead of being in the wide open, you could have been up against that wall.
Kidding me?
The
Alright,
Farah.
this is number three.
Farah,
Okay, we're down one. We're down one.
Come on, they're getting aggressive. They have grab here. Try to battle grab if you can, actually.
Ryan was discorded. I need to.
So again, you guys are like your whole team is just
Yeah, no, just
horrible
yeah.
positioning here.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I mean, really, there's nothing you can do about that. Like, yeah, there's really nothing you could have done there. to heal all of them. I mean, they just had to be in. Oh, big yawn. Oh, they just had to be in better positions there, as they were just getting blown up by that Pharah. And again, you know, I mean, a big part of that comes down to you guys don't really have a comp to counter it right now. I think you guys are running. You might have a Widow. Is Flash on Widow? I don't know. Either way, like the Pharah needs to die. Like the Pharah has been a pretty consistent problem here for you guys, but at the same time, she's also punishing bad positioning for the bulk of your team. So, yeah, not much you could have done there.
Oh wow, I'm still alive. I'm like, I'm waiting for her to kill me and she's not doing it.
Okay, regroup. Should we switch up? Like, or is this still good? Okay.
They have sights. They have sights.
Holy shit, they had walls.
Okay, just wait. Don't go in.
I'm going back to Zarya. I can get her out.
Okay.
Be careful with the Zarya, she's shooting from the left side after she...
Yeah, so I mean, again, here, there's no reason for you to be here. I mean, let's say a Hanzo just walks up, he can headshot you real quick, dead. No reason for you to be in a potential enemy sightline. Be here, be here. Know where they could come from and don't be there.
Wait, why are we right side? Come top.
Yeah. That's bad.
I'm just... okay. Ow.
They're all coming up.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, good call not resing that. On the bottom right there, but...
Can trans that grab.
Yeah.
We should... Yeah.
Oh
Just
shit.
go in Brawler. Get on point.
Okay, going.
Bro, force out, grab the transit.
So, I would have Valked in. So, had you guys made the plan to say, okay, we're going to get down on point and brawl them out, could have just Valked straight into point and gotten real aggressive and pushed them off and just murdered them all here.
He's using right now?
Yeah.
And I died.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we have to run.
Yeah, just die. Just die.
Yeah.
Stop trying to get out, just die. Go get staggered, please.
I've almost got Shatter. Behind us.
They have shattered. I need fucking energy, holy shit.
Discord's on Farah.
Alright,
Okay, we
so...
gotta go.
Valk.
Okay, drop it.
Okay,
Valk.
Ryan coming right side.
Valk.
Hard.
There you go.
Hard.
Little late,
Ryan,
but...
Oh,
Mercy's discorded.
freaking
I
Widow.
got the widow.
So,
Thank you.
a lot of the difference between, like, high gold, where you're at right now, and pushing up into, like, diamond level, and more towards the diamond end of the spectrum there, is using your abilities with confidence. So the reason why I was like Valk there, and then you ended up doing it was just a little late. Like the difference between recognizing when to do it quickly and when to like kind of hold on to it or whatever, that's going to be what really pushes you into platinum there, and pushes you into diamond. Is going to be just having the confidence of knowing, like, okay, I'm going into this fight and I'm going to Valk and we're going to get aggressive and we're going to push them off. So, yeah, I don't know, just more confidence with your abilities. That's going to come with time, but yeah, I've noticed a few times, like, your instinct to Valk is great. You know when to do it. The problem is that you just do it a little late. Like, you hesitate a little bit before you do it. So don't hesitate as much. Like when you have the instinct to Valk, because so far from what I've seen, your instincts are great. They're really on point here. Just follow them more quickly.
Far it down. I repeat, enemy down.
They have shatter. Shatter's there, we can just keep chill up.
Mercy's still...
Ryan Discord.
Ryan's dead.
Mercy's resing.
Sorry, needs to die.
Mercy's down.
So your melee there on the Mercy in the air actually almost caused Dragon to die. And granted, you know, I mean, Dragon, you know, he could have shielded more there. He could have done a lot of things to help keep himself alive.
They switched off Widow.
But at the end of the day,
It's there in the pre-name.
you can't always rely on your team to play perfectly. So you need to be there to fix their mistakes. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Widow.
Oh, we're gonna get fucking stung the hell.
It's for the Tracer. Play careful, Tracer.
Get her shield up. They had. Oh wait, they used grab, didn't they?
So I don't like your position here. Again, this is just wide open spam city. Be up against this wall here, or up against this wall here, or even here, right? Be against a wall, be out of their line of sight, because you're just going to get spammed down by a Pharaoh.
Zarya has charge.
No, they haven't used grab.
I baited out his flash. I baited out his flash.
I'm dying. I'm dead.
I got him
back.
free.
Big.
Oh god, I wasn't able to get to you.
Yeah, not super your fault there.
Oh, I don't have any ults.
Trans back in.
I would say though that you over prioritized a res over keeping your team alive. So just remember that you have 10 seconds or whatever it is to actually get a res off. So prioritize the people that are alive first and then go for the res.
Unfortunate. Okay, we really need to like learn when the fight's over and stop trying to get out because we got staggered 2 fights there. We like lost an entire fight because of that.
Yeah, so he's not wrong there. But yeah, so from your second round of play, again, biggest thing is positioning. Between fights, walls equal friend. So really focus on your positioning. It was actually very good at the beginning of the game, and then it kind of went downhill as the game progressed. So this I still noticed throughout the entire second one. 2, again, you need to Valk on Instinct. INSTINCT. Did I spell that right? I don't know, whatever. Valk on Instinct, because your instincts are good. They're right. They're right on. So Valk on your Instinct with confidence. Okay? And better yet, plan it. Plan it with your team. I didn't see you pistol as much there, so that's great. And I also think, again, GA plus spacebar more. M-O-A-R. More. So, again, this is one of your greatest assets is your mobility. So make sure you're utilizing it. But overall, I think you're doing well. Oh, sorry, one last thing here. Watch tunnel vision. So you tend to tunnel on critical targets that are out of position. I pointed out once right after you guys took the first point on offense there, and the gate closed. Somebody was behind you. I think it was your Widowmaker, and she was super low. And you basically turned and were trying to figure out a way to get to her, to heal her. And while that was happening, your front line was starting to engage in a fight. So that kind of tunnel vision is going to really hurt you later. But also, I saw you kind of tunnel visioning a couple of resurrects instead of healing your front line. So just really watch out for that. Focus more on things you can do easily and immediately. And remember, like if somebody's out of position and unable, and you can't get to them easily, it's really not worth you endangering your life or endangering the people who are in a good position to try to fix that mistake. So, if they just have to learn the hard way by being in a horrible place and dying, let that happen. And also don't sacrifice people who are alive for a res. So overall, though, I think you did really well. Just continue to focus on these things. And I think you are going to be one of the best players on your team. So good job.